Hello, welcome. I'm Miss Carla. I was checking out the color in my hair. It's faded quite a bit. Looks a little bit more green than blue nowadays. We are going to continue today with Caterpillar Summer by Gillian McDunn. And if you didn't see a video yesterday, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. I took yesterday off, so there was no reading. So that means we are on part 5, I believe, of getting through this chapter book. We did not read on Monday. The last time we read was Friday. So let's see where we are. We are on chapter 8. I got my little Wild Thing bookmark in here again. Chapter 8, page 86. The sky was pink from the rising sun, and Kat wanted to watch from the deck. She wrapped herself in a fuzzy blanket and went downstairs. The living room was dim and quiet except for the gurgling of the coffee pot. No one was in the kitchen. She was about to push open the sliding glass door when she heard a voice behind her. "Mornin'." Kat turned. It was Macon. He was pouring coffee into his travel mug. "Hey," she said. "Is it time for your walk?" "Yes, ma'am," said Macon, tightening the lid. "This morning and every morning." Kat wondered if the sunrise was even prettier up close to the waves. "Can I go with you?" As soon as the words were out, she regretted them. Yesterday, Macon barely spoke 3 sentences before he bolted out the door. He wouldn't want her on his special morning walk. Macon seemed surprised. "If you like. Not much to see this early in the morning, mind you." "That's okay," she said. Macon hesitated, but then nodded once. "There's a chill. Best get yourself a sweater." She ran for her hoodie. When she returned, he was waiting on the deck. His strides were long, and Kat had to add a half jog to her step so she wouldn't fall behind. After a while, Kat adjusted to his speed, and they reached a steady pace. "Lily said these were turtle walks," Kat said. "Will we see any?" Macon waved his hand toward the water. "Unlikely. We might see tracks from when they lay their eggs in the sand." That was interesting. "How many eggs in a nest?" "Up to 60, Macon said. "Takes a couple of months to hatch. You and your brother will be long gone by then." Kat looked at him sideways. She and Chicken had just arrived, but he was thinking ahead to when they'd be gone, maybe even looking forward to it. She tried again. "That ship in the bottle was cool," she said. "Hobbies are good," he said. A seagull raced along the shore. "Do you do other stuff besides the ships?" "A bit of woodworking here and there, and I like to tinker in my shop. It used to be hard to find time for everything I wanted to do. Now I've got plenty of time to fill." The line of trophies on the bookshelf popped into Kat's head. "What about fishing?" He frowned, a crease in the center of his forehead. "That was a long time ago. Mom said she'd teach me." Kat didn't say she'd had to push Mom to agree. He sipped his coffee. Kat remembered how upset he'd been yesterday when they talked about fishing. Maybe he was sad because he was missing all those good times with Mom. From the look of the pictures, fishing had been special for them. And he said he needed hobbies. "You should come with us," she said. Macon coughed. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why?" Kat asked. She walked 5 steps before she realized he wasn't beside her anymore. He stood behind her, looking out at the water. She watched him and then walked back to where he stood. He didn't seem to be looking at anything in particular. Kat waited. Finally, as if nothing unusual had happened, he started walking again. "I'd be in the way," he said finally. "Besides, I don't like it much anymore." Macon was as stubborn as Mom, but Kat was sure that if he tried fishing again, he would like it. Mom and Macon would have to remember all the good times they had. "Please come, Macon," she said. "It will be fun." "No," he snapped. "I can't. Let's turn back." He pivoted and walked back the way they came. Cat frowned. The list of what Macon didn't like included boat rides, fishing trips, chicken, and cat. The list of what he liked, sea turtles and hot coffee. Seeing as Cat was neither, there was no point in trying to talk to him. On the way back, she didn't bother trying to catch up. Sorry, I accidentally got a couple of ice cubes in my sip and then I had to crunch them. And here we are. Chapter 9. The afternoon sky puffed with clouds. Macon brought down an old kite from the attic and, after much encouragement from Lily, he agreed to join them on the beach. Chicken about burst from excitement. He asked technical questions about the kite, and soon he and Macon were deep in conversation about aerodynamics. They talked like they had known each other forever. Cat pushed her toes in the sand in irritation. She guessed she could remove chicken from the list of what Macon didn't like. I feel like walking, Lily said. Come with me, Cat? Cat nodded at her brother. I have to stay with him. We'll stay close by, said Lily. Cat studied them. Macon was Chicken's new best friend, and Cat wouldn't go far. Together, Cat and Lily walked along the water. Cat's favorite beach find was sea glass. It was difficult to spot, so each piece felt like a treasure. So far, Cat had 2 brown and 1 clear in her collection. Lily also loved the glass. She collected green and blue pieces in a big bowl on the coffee table. Lily was explaining the way waves tumbled and smoothed the glass when Cat saw something out of the corner of her eye. Macon looked at the kite in the sky. He talked and gestured, but didn't realize Chicken had turned toward the water and taken a few steps toward it. A wave approached, and its edge rushed over Chicken's feet. Cat thought he'd panic, but he smiled. She smiled too, remembering how it felt to realize an ocean could be warm. For an instant, he stood completely still. Warm water, he shouted. Macon looked at him, startled. Cat looked at Chicken hard, her brain calculating how long it would take to reach him. He charged into the water, but stumbled. A wave went over his head, and he disappeared. Chicken! Chicken! She raced across the sand, Lily right behind her. Macon was thigh-deep in the waves. He fished Chicken out of the water. When Chicken's head popped up, he looked surprised. But he was even more surprised when Macon scooped him up and held him like a baby. Lily ran right into the water after them. Is he all right? Is he breathing? Chicken answered this by throwing his head back and howling. He yelled so hard, he blocked out the sound of the waves. Macon held Chicken as he walked onto the sand. Chicken was twisting desperately in Macon's arms. Lily patted at Chicken like she was trying to check that he was all in one piece. Is he hurt? Lily didn't understand. Chicken's body was okay, but his insides were crashing harder than the waves. Macon and Lily meant well, but they were doing everything wrong. Chicken hadn't stopped howling. He arched his back, arms pinwheeling. Cat took a step toward him. You're holding him too tight, Macon, and he doesn't like being on his back like that. He doesn't feel safe. Macon didn't seem to hear. He and Lily kept fussing over Chicken. All 3 of them were soaking wet. Chicken shuddered a deep breath. Want shark. Lily's eyebrows bunched in concern. Macon, he wants his shark. I think it's on the kitchen counter. Please, Chicken sobbed. Let me down. No, sir, Macon said, still holding him. We can't have you running in the water. Chicken kicked at Macon, who only gripped him closer. Chicken hated being held so tight. Cat reached out. Give him to me. Macon hesitated. He's too heavy. This is safer. Cat's eyebrows shot up fast. He was the one who let Chicken run into the water, and he thought it wasn't safe for his own sister to hold him? You should have watched him better if you care about what's safe, she said. You're holding him too tight. He doesn't like being on his back. I know what he needs. Lily stepped forward. Her hair was plastered to her forehead. Macon, give him to Cat. Her usually soft voice was lined with something strong. Macon transferred Chicken to Cat. Cat turned and walked slowly toward the house. She had to be careful she didn't fall over because Chicken was heavy. That was the one thing Macon was right about. She paused to readjust Chicken's arms, which clung to her neck in a way that made breathing difficult. He was so wet he was harder to hold, and he was somehow heavier. Want a shark? Chicken repeated. I know you do, said Cat. She staggered and straightened again. Not my toy. I want a real one. Cookie cutter sharks like warm water, and this ocean is warm. Oh, Chicken, said Cat. You'll go in when you're big, when you've learned to swim. He didn't argue with her this time, but she thought she heard him mutter something. She paused to hoist him up again. What did you say? She asked. Someday I'll be big, he said. Yes, she said, but not today. She carried him the rest of the way and didn't set him down until they reached the deck. She grabbed a striped towel. Come here, she said. She patted him dry so he wouldn't drip. Chicken needed her in a way Macon and Lily couldn't understand. Sometimes Cat didn't understand it either. She rubbed his sandy feet. Chicken gazed over the railing. What are they talking about? Cat looked up from the towel. Macon and Lily were in deep discussion. They stood far enough away that she couldn't hear them. Probably talking about us. Chicken turned to her with big eyes. Will they send us away? Cat studied them. Lily was talking while Macon mostly nodded. I don't think so, she answered. But you can't run off like that, Chicken, especially in the water. It's dangerous. Okay, said Chicken. She looked at him. He was surprisingly calm for how upset he had been a few moments ago. She needed to make sure he understood how important this was. Promise me, she said. I promise, he said. No ocean until I'm big. The towel had done all it could do, so Cat spread it out on the deck railing to dry. Let's find some dry clothes. Upstairs, Chicken changed and brought his wet clothes to Cat. Read to me? He asked. They held The Broken Cookie, which came out earlier that year. He held The Broken Cookie, which came out earlier that year. Sure, said Cat. They climbed onto the window seat, and he stretched out next to her. The first few pages were all about Cat and Chicken at the bakery, choosing their cookies. But when they walked outside, Chicken tripped on the sidewalk. His cookie broke. Chicken stomped around the page, angry and crying. The ending was supposed to be happy, but something about it made Cat stop short. Oh, here's the next page of the story. And Caterpillar is telling Chicken, you have a puzzle cookie. Couldn't Caterpillar have given Chicken the idea for a puzzle cookie without breaking her own? Cat felt herself getting upset. On one hand, it was a story about cookies. On the other hand, it was much more. Oh, I see. So in the picture, Cat broke her own cookie to show Chicken that they could be a puzzle. Cat was Chicken's big sister. She would never complain when Chicken needed her, and sometimes he did need her. Even though he was safe beside her, it made her shiver to remember his head disappearing under the waves. That was terrible. An emergency. But a broken cookie was not an emergency. It was a little sad, and that's all. And Caterpillar broke her cookie when she didn't have to. She made things worse for herself on purpose. It didn't seem right. Chicken, she said, why do you think Book Caterpillar solved the problem that way? Chicken twirled his fingers. Because puzzle cookies are funny. Okay, Cat said, but Caterpillar could have explained without breaking hers. Chicken frowned. All she wants is for Chicken to be happy. She doesn't care about the cookie. Cat snapped the book shut. She should care. Chicken crossed his arms. Well, she doesn't. The cookie isn't the point. It's a symbol. The cookie represents all the things Caterpillar gives up to keep Chicken happy. Cat thought back to the last day of school when she said no to the toy boat with Papi Zhang. Chicken didn't know half of what Cat did to make him happy. Chicken shook his head. That's dumb. Symbols are dumb. Sometimes stories are more than the words on the page, said Cat. Chicken grabbed the book from her. That is dumb. If Mama wanted the story to mean something different, she should write it like that. She would write it like that. She wouldn't be tricky. He didn't understand. Cat shook her head in frustration. She heard a light tapping. It was Lily in the doorway. Would either of you like some lemonade? Lily asked. Yes, said Chicken. He hopped off the window seat and walked out, not looking back. Cat? No thanks, said Cat. When she heard their feet on the stairs, she shut the door. She needed time by herself. In the window seat, she made a pillow nest. Arguing with Chicken was pointless. He didn't understand that a book could be more than one thing. On one level, it was a story about a cookie, but on a deeper level, there was so much more. Caterpillar put herself last all the time, even when she didn't have to. Cat wasn't like that, was she? Chicken needed so much. He needed someone to watch him, think about him constantly, and keep him safe. To remind him that going into the ocean fully clothed is a bad idea, especially for someone who can't swim. Sometimes it seemed like Chicken needed more than what Cat and Mom could give. He needed more than the two of them. He needed a crowd. Cat didn't need a crowd, but she needed someone. She checked the time. Mom would be teaching, but she could email Rishi. Rishi, how's your grandma doing? I am sorry she had a stroke. I hope she is okay. What is India like? We're in North Carolina with my mom's parents. Weird, right? I had never met them until this week. Lily is nice. Macon is okay, I guess. Chicken took off running into the ocean today. He's fine. I haven't even had a chance to tell you how he ran away on Clement Street before we left San Francisco. He scares me sometimes. Write me or video chat when you can. Cat. That night, Chicken fell asleep quickly, but Cat was awake. She curled up in the window seat and read. She was about to turn out the lights when she heard Macon and Lily on the deck below. They sat in the porch swing, which cricked over the sound of the waves. Listening was probably not the right thing to do, but she couldn't help it. Never been so scared. Macon's voice rose up. It ended up all right, said Lily, soothing. Shouldn't have turned my back, but he was so interested in the kite. You didn't do anything wrong. He got distracted, that's all. Macon said something back that sounded like, don't know if I have it in me. Their voices were low. Cat leaned toward the window, straining her ears. It's like dynamite, said Macon finally. I could mess it up and they could go away. It would be all my fault. The words were choppy, like it hurt to say them. Lily answered, but her voice was quiet. The porch swing cricked 500 times before Cat crawled under the covers next to her brother, and it was still cricking when she closed her eyes and fell asleep. All right, let's do one more chapter. Chapter 10. The morning sun woke Cat. Chicken was snoring, and Cat couldn't get back to sleep. She put on her sweatshirt and went downstairs. She didn't expect to be invited on a walk, not after yesterday, but there were 2 mugs on the counter. Mornin', Macon said. All ready to go? It was like they'd already decided that they'd walk together. She nodded. He picked up the blue mug and nodded at the silver. That's yours. Cat looked at the silver mug, surprised. Hot chocolate, he said. I thought coffee might stunt your growth. He turned and headed to the door before she could thank him. Outside, there was a mist that reminded her of San Francisco fog. She balanced her mug and followed him into the morning. They walked in silence for a while, sipping their hot drinks. Cat's was creamy and delicious. Cat squeezed the wet sand with her toes. She wanted to ask Macon more about his morning walks. So what made you start looking for the turtles? Macon kept walking his fast walk. I like them. Most of the time they know exactly what they are doing. It's only when people get in their way that there are problems. What do you mean, get in their way? Like your grandmother said, the lights confuse them. Sometimes they get sick from eating trash, especially balloons and plastic. I clean up as I walk. That's a nice thing to do. Not a big deal, really. Just being there when I can. A few steps from the water lay shards of a purple sand shovel. She bent to gather them. Half of life is showing up, Macon said quietly, almost to himself. And some things are worth showing up for. They didn't say anything for the rest of the walk. Back at the house, Chicken tore into a stack of pancakes. Macon and Cat took turns washing their hands. Caterpillar, said Chicken, Lily told me about the library reading program. If you sign up, you get prizes. I am going to read every book they have about sharks. But you probably won't earn many prizes, said Cat. Remember, we won't be here long. She bit into a strawberry. Chicken streamed syrup over his half-eaten pancakes. I will earn lots of prizes. You'll see. Macon turned to Lily. Are you planning to take him? I'll take him, said Cat. It's not far. Macon cleared his throat. After yesterday, I think you should have an adult with you. Cat shook her head. We're fine. We take the bus all over San Francisco. We can walk a few blocks ourselves. Lily looked at Cat, and then she looked at Macon. Chicken, get your shoes, said Cat. He galloped to the living room. Macon cleared the breakfast dishes. He spoke to Lily in a low voice, frowning. I won't get lost, said Cat. She looked at Macon's back. She wanted him to remember yesterday's mistake. And I know how to keep him safe. Macon stood at the sink, not facing her. Go on, said Lily. Have fun. Macon didn't say a word. Fine, said Cat. Bye. She and Chicken left. Cat let the door close hard behind her. On the sidewalk, Chicken had a question. Is Macon mad at us? Cat was still irritated. Of course not, said Cat sharply. But he thinks I'm a little kid like you. Chicken frowned. Are you mad? No, said Cat. But he should see I'm not a baby. I'm not a baby either, said Chicken firmly. Cat gave him a shoulder squeeze. I know. The town was quiet. There were a few souvenir shops, a general store, and an ice cream place called Miss Sunshine's. A square playground was surrounded by big trees. Playground, said Chicken. Library first, said Cat. Outside the library were statues of sea creatures, including giant sea turtles and sharks. Kids climbed and jumped on them. Chicken gazed at them longingly. Later, said Cat. We'll play after. He nodded, and they climbed the steps. A sign said, Summer Reading Program Kickoff Today. Inside, kids were everywhere. Someone tapped them on the shoulder. It was a woman with white makeup on her face, a purple wig, and a giant red painted-on grin. Ah, said Chicken, hiding behind Cat. The clown sighed. Sorry, said Cat. I've been getting that a lot today. The clown pointed. Registration for the summer reading program is that-a-way. Thanks, said Cat. They went through the glass doors to a room with walls full of murals and tall windows. Shelves were dotted with handwritten librarian recommendations. Throughout the room were displays on different summer-related topics. Chicken gasped when he saw a papier-mâché hammerhead topping an arrangement of shark books. I want them all, he said. Let's get 3. Only 3. Chicken had already stacked a dozen in his arms. When Cat raised her eyebrows, he said, I know, I'm browsing. We'll sign up, and then you can look all you want. They gave their names to the librarian behind the desk, who wrote down their information in a big book. She handed them each a paper sea turtle with their names. Chicken traced his finger along the list of prizes. I want the mini-golf. You want to go mini-golfing. Nope, said Chicken. It says mini-golf, right here. Cat decided not to argue. You better get reading if you want anything. They found a table by the bulletin board and a bearded librarian shelving books. A bright green flyer on the wall caught Cat's eye. Cat read the flyer again. If Rishi were here, he would enter. He would love a contest like this. Maybe she should try it. She didn't know how to fish, but Mom would teach her. That wasn't a bad idea at all. She reread the form. She turned to the librarian. Excuse me, do you know where I can find the entry for the contest? Here's the sign. Gingerbread Island Youth Fishing Contest. Fun prizes. Kids ages 8 to 14. Catch all the fish you can between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. on the Gingerbread Island Fishing Pier Saturday, July 9th. This year's cash prize sponsored by Small Fry Food Truck. Enter at Willis General Store by June 25th. The librarian looked up. Should be right by the bulletin board. We must have run out. Okay, said Kat. It was a silly idea anyway. Let me see if we have any behind the desk. If not, they should have them over at Willis General. The librarian went to check, and Kat turned back to the board. It didn't say how big the cash prize might be. Could it be enough to buy an airplane ticket to visit Rishi later this summer? Suddenly, she heard a wail behind her. She froze. She turned, expecting to see Chicken's face full of tears. But instead, it was a small boy with dark brown hair and freckles polka-dotting every inch of his pale skin. His face was streaked with blood. He gripped a book, but Chicken's hands were tugging it from his grasp. As Kat watched, the flow of blood became a small river, making rusty spots on the boy's shirt. Kat crossed to them quickly. Let go of that book, she said to Chicken. Startled, he took a step back. The boy clung to the book, which now had blood spots on it too. Kat grimaced. She bent down to be at his eye level. Hey, she said, are you okay? Are you here with your mom or anyone? He shook his head and wailed again. It's okay, Kat tried again. We'll help you. The boy sobbed. Chicken was quiet. Kat touched his arm. Did you hurt him, Chicken? Chicken nodded. Kat gasped. She couldn't believe it. You hurt this little boy? Chicken nodded again, his eyes filling with tears. The boy said, Harriet! Kat turned to see a girl coming around the corner. She was about Kat's age, with the same dark hair and freckles as the little boy. Nettie, she said, what happened? Nettie cried and pointed at Chicken. Harriet frowned at Chicken and Kat. I'm so sorry, said Kat. He would never hurt anyone. Harriet looked up from her brother. Well, obviously that's not true. On purpose, I mean, Kat said. Harriet arched her eyebrows. There's a first time for everything, I guess. Chicken's eyes shimmered. Does anyone have a tissue? Harriet asked. The bearded librarian came back. He held an ice pack and a handful of scratchy paper towels. Hi there, Nettie. Looks like you've got yourself a big old nosebleed. Nettie took the wad of paper towels and pressed it to his nose. It was clear that the librarian knew these kids. No one knew Kat and Chicken. I'm sorry, Kat said softly. We're really sorry. Everyone was looking at the boy. Harriet scrunched a fresh paper towel to his nose. Pinch it, Nettie. They had to get out of there. Come on, Chicken, Kat whispered. My books, he whispered back. He didn't get it. It wasn't okay to smack this Nettie kid in the face and then collect his books like nothing happened. She grabbed his shoulder. Forget the books. We have to go. Kat forced him to walk quickly. They dodged the clown in the lobby, then went outside. Can we play? Asked Chicken. No, said Kat, not after what you did. They walked back to the house and stood at the bottom of the stairs. She had to make him understand that he'd done something wrong. Hurting people is bad, said Kat. Chicken's eyes filled with tears. I'm not bad. I didn't say you were bad, but hurting people is bad. It is, Chicken. Chicken wiped his eyes. If you tell Macon and Lily they won't let us go anywhere by ourselves, we'll be trapped here. Chicken thought it over. I won't tell if you promise to take me to the park tomorrow. Kat's eyes popped. Are you blackmailing me? I'm making a deal, he said evenly. She didn't see much choice. The idea of explaining to Macon and Lily made her head hurt. Besides, she didn't mind going to the park. She nodded. Chicken hurried up the stairs and swung the door wide. Lily, I'm back. Chicken had surprised her. First, he fought at the library, when Chicken never hurt anyone. Then he used the fight to bargain for a park trip. She'd underestimated her brother. His marshmallow heart had grown a row of teeth. That afternoon, Chicken wanted to play sharks with Lily in the guest room. Lily was Chicken's new best friend. When they had returned without books, she promised to take Chicken again later in the week. This was fine with Kat, who had crossed the library off her list. She never wanted to see Harriet and Nettie again. Macon was sweeping the kitchen floor. Kat didn't want to talk to him, so she decided to video chat Mom. When it connected, Mom smiled big. "Hey, Kat." "Hi, Mom," said Kat. "Are you having a good day?" "Fantastic," said Mom. She launched into a story about how inspired she was by her talented students. Kat smiled and nodded in all the right places. But the more Mom talked about how excited she was, the more Kat realized how unfun life on the island was. Mom wrapped up her story and gazed at Kat. "Is the island too boring for you?" Mom asked. The scritch of Macon's broom paused for a minute. Kat glanced up to see if he was listening, but he had only stopped to retrieve the dustpan. She was glad Mom could tell something was wrong, but she didn't want to say much with Macon there. "Boring isn't the problem. Have you found some nice kids?" "I found some kids," she said, "but no nice ones." "Island kids can be close-knit," said Mom. "Yeah, and there is one boy who is straight up awful, and there is a girl who—" Kat didn't want to explain Chicken's fight. She wasn't nice either. Mom listened. Sometimes she was so wrapped up in her work she couldn't see anything past her nose. Other times she knew when to let Kat talk. "Are you that unhappy?" Mom asked. Kat was unhappy, but talking wouldn't help. "It will be okay. It's just 3 weeks anyway." "That's my girl. Listen, I need to run, but I will see you this weekend, okay?" Kat nodded. "Hey, Mom, I love you." "I love you too." They clicked off. Kat's face was reflected in the blank screen. The door closed, and Kat realized Macon had left without saying goodbye. Typical. Rishi. "The kids here are a disaster. Chicken gave a kid at the library a nosebleed. That is all the breaking news for now. I'll let you know if we get in any other brawls. Kat. P.S. I may learn how to fish. Turns out my mom is some kind of expert fisher person, if you can believe that. She's going to teach me. How did you learn? Do you have any tips?" That's the end of that chapter. When she sends the emails, the font is a little bit different. I don't know if you can see. It's a little bit more square looking and darker. So that was an email at the end. So that's the end of that chapter. Next will be chapter 11, which is page 112. So we went past 100 pages today. And we will start there tomorrow. And I'll be back in my house for that. Did you see my fox picture on the wall? Isn't it cute? Because we're in Fox Point. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.